So have you ever glanced at your Chase points, felt lost, and wondered, now what? You've hustled so hard to earn points across Chase's amazing lineup of cards, and you want to make sure you're using those points effectively. You're not alone. Today we're diving deep into every single method you can use to redeem Chase points, and more importantly, which ones to give you even more value and which ones to avoid completely. Plus, stick around for a high value redemption I made just last week. But first, imagine you're eyeing the shiny Quest 3 on Amazon, which will cost you $500. And you think to yourself, I remember that you could use Chase points towards Amazon purchases. And you'd be right. Chase offers a straightforward way to do exactly that with the pay with points option you can find under shopping and experiences through the Ultimate Rewards portal. Whether you use these points at Amazon checkout or PayPal, the value you get for these points are the same either way. Then after you link your Chase card to your Amazon account, during checkout you'll have the option to select this Chase card and choose however many points you want to redeem. Let's break it down. For this Quest 3, instead of forking over $550.13, including tax, you would need 68,769 Chase points. But is that even a good deal, and how much value are we getting for our points? Crunching the numbers here, dividing the dollar amount, $550.15, by the number of Chase points required, 68,769, shows you're only getting about 0.8 cents per point in value. Honestly, that is horrible value and is not a way you should be using Chase points, except for one exception, and that's during Amazon and Chase promotions. Every couple months or so, you could be targeted for massive discounts of as high as 50% off when using just one Chase point, which is all I would recommend using to trigger this offer. It's a method of using Chase points that flies under the radar, but can be quite lucrative if you're targeted, given Amazon has pretty much everything you would need. But again, I would stick to the minimum required to trigger this offer, because any more and you're literally throwing money away. And that's because Chase points are by far the most flexible points currency out there, which you could judge in two ways. One, what's the base value? The value you get for your points by doing little to no extra or special work. And two, if you wanted to put in the work, are there options to give you even more value for your points above the base value? And Chase points shine here in both ways. Because by far the easiest thing you can do to get value from your points is straight cashback, where unlike American Express giving you 0.6 cents per point, or Capital One's Venture Miles yielding you 0.5 cents per point, Chase here gives you a strong baseline of 1 cent per point for your cashback. And that's why cards like the Freedom Unlimited or Freedom Flex are actually advertised as cashback cards, giving you 5% in rotating categories, but actually giving you 5 times points instead, which is great because you can then redeem those points for cashback or any other method we cover in this video for potentially even more value. Essentially, you should never settle for anything less than 1 cent per point. Here's how simple it is. Head on over to the Ultimate Rewards portal, go to Convert to Cash, and then click on Cashback. Then you'll end up on a screen like this, which clearly states that $1 equals to 100 Chase points. With my balance of 77,985 points, that means I can convert to $779.85, either direct on this credit card as statement credit or through to my bank account that I have linked. Circling back to the Quest 3 on Amazon, that means instead of paying 68,769 points redeemed at checkout, I could just buy the item straight up and then redeem my points for cashback using just 55,015 points. And that's why aside for these Amazon Chase promotions, you should aim for at least 1 cent per point. Anything less than that, like 0.8 cents per point, is literally leaving money on the table. Now right there on the cashback page, you'll also see a banner for another method of using Chase points, and that's through gift cards. Clicking into it will bring you to the gift card page, showing you cards across different retailers like this one from Nordstrom, where a $25 gift card will cost you 2,500 points, hitting our 1 cent per point baseline. It gets a bit more interesting with Chase's rotating retailers for deals, where you can get this $15 Uber card for just $13.50 in points. That's 10% off and nudging the value of our points up to 1.11 cents per point. Slightly above our baseline, so it's not that bad of a choice. But while appealing, you could stretch your Chase points so much further, giving you more than double that in value. But first, let's dive into a unique option under shopping and experiences, Shop Apple. It's like browsing the Apple Store, but through the Chase portal. Imagine you're eyeing the new Mac Pro with the M3 chip, where the 14-inch is priced at $1999. Through Chase, you can redeem points for this at exactly 199,900 points, which is the exact baseline of 1 cent per point. However, in rare cases, Chase has offers that will give you even more value for your points when redeemed for Apple products. For holders of top-tier cards like the Sapphire Reserve, this bonus was a whopping 50% extra, turning that 1 cent per point up to 1.5 cents per point. Though if you have the Sapphire card or Ink Preferred card, that's only a 25% bonus, and even lower on the no annual fee Freedom and Ink cards at a 10% bonus. Meaning if you had the Sapphire Reserve, instead of paying 199,900 points, you'll only need 133,267 points. If we use that new amount to calculate our cents per point, you take the cost of $1,999 divided by the points needed, 133,267, and you get about 1.5 cents per point. But again, that's only if you have their highest tier cards. Though at 1.5 cents per point, that's typically the highest value you'd get from Chase points without going into the complex travel partners that we'll touch on later. That said, with my balance of about 78,000 points, I'm a tad short. Yet Chase is flexible where you can combine points across all your different cards. And that's easy to do through the combined points page, where you can choose which card you want to transfer points from, and then which card you want those points transferred to. So given I have more points across my Freedom Flex and Freedom cards, I could transfer these points over to the Sapphire Preferred and redeem for the MacBook if I wanted to. Also know that you can move points to different members of your household or the owner of the business if you have the business cards. Alright, if you're anything like me and always on a hunt for the next foodie adventure, then you've probably stumbled upon Tock in order to reserve at these restaurants, which is the company that's partnered with Chase, not only offering you 10 times points for Chase dining if you have the Sapphire Reserve, but lets you redeem points for this Chase dining as well. For example, take Canlis, a popular fine dining restaurant here in Seattle. If you're lucky to snag a spot, you can pay the deposit or upfront fee of $100 per person by using 10,000 points instead, which turns out to be the baseline 1 cent per point. Yes, you can only use these points towards these prepayment costs and not for the actual bill you'd get at the restaurant. While the 1 cent per point rate is the same as the baseline, I would recommend skipping this. Instead, directly pay for this cost with your card and then later redeem points to cover the cost using cashback, because that way you're still going to earn points for this initial purchase. So unless there's some special promo like in the past where you'll get 50% extra value for points redeemed in this way, I would steer away from this option and just opt for the regular cashback instead. Really, any option that gives you just 1 cent per point, just stick to simple cashback. Another method for redeeming Chase points is Chase Experiences, which right now includes the 2024 PGA Championship grounds ticket or lift ticket discounts. When diving into these experiences like the golf tournament, you're presented with a choice of which tickets, as well as two methods of paying, either cash, in this case $230, or points, in this case 23,000 points. Again, a familiar 1 cent per point, but not something I would recommend. Not only is it the same value as the simpler cashback, but again, you won't be earning points if you redeem points. In this example, in order to get the ticket, I could A, redeem 23,000 points for the ticket, or B, pay $230, earn 230 points, and if I wanted to, cover the cost with statement credit down the line. You'll need the same number of points anyways, so missing the chance to earn more points just doesn't make sense. Moving on to a once lucrative method that has seen much better days, and that's with the Pay Yourself Back program. The basic part here is being able to choose one of your recent purchases and applying points to cover that direct cost. This is that 1 cent per point, so similar to cashback. The special part about this is for certain categories, you're getting elevated value for using these points. Sounds great until you realize that the only category right now on the Sapphire Preferred is select charities, which there are about 15 to 20 of in this list. Now, don't get me wrong, giving to charities is a good thing to do. I just wish it wasn't the only method I can use to get elevated value. If you have the Sapphire Reserve, on the other hand, it's a little bit better, giving redemption options with higher value across grocery stores, gas stations, and towards the annual membership, but previously it included restaurants and dining, which were the golden days. And the same goes for the Freedom and the Ink business cards as well, with the categories just getting narrower and narrower. summer. While we hope for more lucrative categories again, realistically it'll probably stay around the same, where Chase will still be able to advertise that pay yourself back is another way to use your Chase points. Now, all of the methods we've covered so far of using your Chase points will give you between 0.8 or 1.25 cents per point, promotions aside. But where you get that next level of value, and in my opinion, the best methods, are when you use your points towards travel. And there are two main ways to do so. Method 1, using the Chase travel portal. This method is the easiest because it means searching for flights and hotels like you would on a site like Google. No fussing trying to find availability, unlike method number 2, which is to use one of Chase's transfer partners. This is harder and requires more flexibility, but it's where you get the higher 2, 3, 5, or even 10 cents per point redemptions. So in order to use your points in these ways, first go back to the portal, click on travel, which will bring you to the main Chase travel site. Say we wanted to search for a popular route like SFO to New York City sometime during the summer. The portal shows us an entire list, but let's focus on this Alaska flight costing us $334. What you want to do first is to cross-check on a third-party site like Google, which in this case for carry-on baggage and a direct flight is the same, which is good. Now, if you want to use points towards this purchase, it'll differ depending on which cards you have. If you have the Chase Freedom cards, you're getting 1 cent per point. If you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, you're getting 1.25 cents per point. And then with the Sapphire Reserve, you're getting an elevated 1.5 cents per point. And so back to the travel page, you'll see that for this $334 flight, I only need 26,717 points, giving me my value of 1.25 cents per point. And that's cheaper than going through cash and then using cashback or statement credit. If you had the Sapphire Reserve, this would only cost you 22,267 points. Remember, when you're redeeming with points, you're not going to be earning points, which in this case would be 1,670 points. Now, unfortunately, there is no good way to redeem for Alaska flights using Chase, but let's go over a redemption I made just last week instead to Japan. Yes, I went last year and I'm going this year again, but this time with a different focus city in Osaka. So looking at the portal for a one-way flight from Vancouver to Osaka, you're paying $2,461, where comparing over to Google is pretty much the same. Now here it gives me the option to use a combination of my points and dollars, but that's only because I don't currently have enough points in this account to redeem for the flight. If I did, I would still get the 1.25 cents per point, meaning I would only need to redeem 196,880 points, which is quite a lot. But right now, if you go through the Aeroplan site and search for the exact route and the exact date, it's only costing you 74,000 points and $53 Canadian in fees. And yes, your eyes are seeing that right. The cost for business class is lower than the cost of economy. And that's because there's only 3 seats left at this price, where after that's gone, they'll likely have even more seats, but at a much higher cost. Through Aeroplan, Air Canada's own flights are dynamic in pricing, so for this exact same route, it could go as low as 55,000 points and as high as 150,000 points. Also, Aeroplan is just one of many partners that Chase has, which you can see by going through the portal, clicking on travel, and going through transfer points. Here you can see all the partners and go through the flows. Now to calculate the value of this Osaka redemption, we'll take the dollar cost of $24.61 minus 53 Canadian or 39 USD in fees, then divided by the points needed, in this case 74,000 points, which results in a value of 3.3 cents per point, which is much higher than all the other methods we've talked about. And if you were able to find this redemption at just 55,000 points, which I was able to just last week, where it still showed 8 seats available, you could take the same cost of the flight divided by 55,000 points, which will give you 4.4 cents per point instead. But not all points are created equal, because if you go on United's site, which is also a transfer partner and part of Star Alliance, you can see the exact same Air Canada flight, but here costing you 110,000 United miles. Doing the same calculation results in 2.2 cents per point, which is still higher than a lot of the other methods, but you can see how choosing the right partner also matters. And so for this specific flight, you can pay $24.61 in cash while earning 5 times points or 12,305 points, redeem 196,880 Chase points at 1.25 cents per point, redeem with 110,000 United points, giving you 2.2 cents per point, or going as low as 55,000 Aeroplan points, giving you 4.4 cents per point, all for the same flight. There are hundreds and hundreds of great redemptions out there, but the best way I found to get started on research is to literally Google the location plus sweet spot redemptions, which will give you some articles and give you some ideas to start your research on. But flights aside, the same can be done for hotels too. We might do a quick stop in Korea, so I've been looking at hotels in Seoul as well. One that caught my eye was the Park Hyatt Seoul, which after taxes and fees will cost you $619 per night, or 49,520 points given the 1.25 cents per point redemptions. And if you compare the price on Google, it's pretty much the same. However, through the Hyatt portal, you can see it only costs 25,000 points per night to redeem for the same room at this hotel and not have to pay those fees on top. And so for the $619 per night hotel, you can pay $619 in direct cash and earn 5 or even 10 times points depending on your card, which means as high as 6,190 points. Redeem for 49,520 Chase points through the portal, or transfer your points to Hyatt and redeem for just 25,000 points per night, which comes out to about 2.5 cents per point. From my experience, hotel bookings are a lot easier to find availability for compared to flight redemptions, but the highest redemption values usually come from flights. But that brings up a really important question, and that's how much do you value your time at and what do you really care for? Because if you don't care for business or first class travel or fancy hotels, then sure, you could still get good value out of your points, but it may be capped at about 3-4 cents per point in value. But on the same note, does cents per point or CPP even matter? Take the YVR to Osaka route. Would you have personally paid $2,500 for that 10-hour flight? If you're using points instead, would that have been better off at a lower value redemption at the Park Hyatt Seoul, but you get much more time to enjoy those hotel nights? And even if it were worth it, how many hours did it take for you to learn the whole process and search for all the award availability? 10 hours? If you value your time at $50 an hour, that $500 of time used is cutting into your savings. Honestly, all the methods we covered today are good redemptions, maybe minus the Amazon and PayPal ones. It's really a balance of how much effort you're willing to put in and how much value you're trying to squeeze out of it, or learn a more balanced approach to get 80% of the value for just 20% of the effort, which is what I'm doing in my new refresh strategy over in this video here. That said, what's your favorite way of using Chase points? Let us know down below and I'll see you over there.